John Welsh, who's a solid waste manager for Dane County, and he is here to tell us about how we can use garbage to heat our homes and run your car. So he received his bachelor's at UW-Madison in civil and environmental engineering. He's a registered PE in Wisconsin, and he's very involved. He and his staff oversee operations in 1 active and 2 closed landfills, a new open construction and demolition and transfer station, 3 compost sites, a year-round hazardous waste facility, a landfill gas to electricity system, and a landfill gas to CNG system. So his other projects include community manure digester and a couple other ones. And he's also been heavily involved in the county's conversion to CNG and development in its bio-CNG program, which converts landfill gas to CNG fuel. So, welcome, John.
All right, so I guess we'll keep talking about garbage and all that fun stuff. There we go. This is a picture in the background. You can just lightly see it of our community manure digester. So that I'm not going to talk a whole lot about that. George touched upon what digestion can do, but that's a system up in Wanakee that's taking manure from 3 family farms and converting it into electricity. That was kind of my baby. That was my pet project for about 5 or 6 years. So if you have any questions afterwards, just find me or shoot me an email. But this is some of the stuff either myself or my staff has worked on. Kind of a little history of our experience with biogas and these types of energy sources. We have an active landfill. We have 3 different compost operations. We have a couple closed landfills we oversee. At 2 of our sites, 2 of our landfills, we're actually taking methane, the gas produced from garbage, breaking down and producing electricity. We're also using waste heat to heat some of our buildings, and we're producing vehicle fuel from some of that gas. So I'll get into some of those here. Talk a little bit about, mostly I'll be talking about our landfill gas to electricity and our landfill gas to vehicle fuel to CNG. But I'll also touch upon some of the other things you can do with landfill gas and garbage in general from a renewable energy standpoint. So this is our current landfill gas to energy system out in our current open landfill. These are the steps. Basically, you have the gas production within the waste mass itself. Then you have to collect that somehow. The gas is fairly dirty. It's dirtier than if you had a digester or even a wastewater treatment plant. As you can imagine, we have to take everything that comes in the door, so you end up with a lot of impurities, hydrogen sulfides, siloxanes, VOCs, those types of moisture, those types of things. So we do have to do some processing before we use that gas. It isn't processed to the level that natural gas comes into your homes via the pipeline, but it does need to be cleaned somewhat. And then we actually run that gas through either large engines for generation of electricity, or we clean it up to use as vehicle fuel. So this gives you kind of an idea. This is fairly typical waste mass up on the hill. We compact that waste and we build it up in cells, we cover it with soil as we go, and then you put your final cap on when you reach final grades. At our current site, our deepest waste is about 120 feet, and it's about 70 acres worth of waste that we have up there right now. It's a little over 7 billion cubic yards of garbage that we have in our hill up there right now. All that is breaking down and producing mostly methane. A little over half of it is the gas that comes out of the garbage is methane. A little under half is carbon dioxide, and then you have some nitrogen and some other trace elements in there. And it's about 80 to 120 degrees when it comes out of the hill. So this gas is, kind of a, unfortunate or necessary side effect of collecting garbage. People often like to slam us about the production of this gas. The fact of the matter is we exist to provide a service for the public. If we didn't exist, garbage would be spread all over as it used to be, and leads to public health concerns. So we have to collect the garbage. We do it in an environmentally responsible way. Methane is emitted, so we try to look at what can we do with that methane to produce a beneficial reuse out of it. So this is both the pipe at the bottom and then near the top of the hill. This is a gas well. We actually drill wells down through the garbage after we get close to final grade. And just like you would with a typical natural gas well in the ground, it's perforated pipe. We fly back into that, and through that well we're actually flushing out the methane and other gas that's generated within the waste. We currently have 47 wells drilled throughout our property and over 7,000 feet of pipe connecting all those wells and bringing them back to our processing plant. This is the processing plant. That large silver pipe is the gas coming out of the ground or out of a hill going into that building. Inside that building you see some equipment there. That equipment is used to knock moisture out and a little bit of the impurities. So it's filtered, it's cooled and pressurized. That helps remove some of the moisture, and then it goes into these large engines here. So we have a total of 7 engines on our site. We have the capacity out there to produce power for almost 8,000 homes. Right now we're doing enough electricity for about 4,000, 4,500 homes continuously here in Dane County, and we sell that back on the grid to MG&E. So these engines, you see a gas line coming in right here. That's actually the cleaned up methane from the garbage. It's the fuel to run that engine. So it's a modified natural gas engine. It's about the size of a train engine. This one here is enough to do about 800 to 900 homes. Again, we have 7 of these engines on our site. Goes into the engine. It uses it as fuel to run all these pistons, and then on the back end down here, this unit on the back end, the engine's turning that as an electric generation system. So just through that, we're producing electricity. It runs through this gray switchgear up on the top of the page, all through a transformer, and then out to MG&E. So this is the overview of our project, our electric generation. It costs us about $500,000 a year to run this system, but we bring in about $3.7 million in revenue. And all that, the profit after expenses, goes directly back to the general fund for the county to help keep taxes low in Dane County. We are currently processing a little over 1,400 cubic feet of gas every minute coming out of our landfill. So there's obviously a lot that goes into this. I'll kind of skip through these quick, but we have continuous monitoring out there. We have camera systems throughout. All this is accessible via the internet and our smartphone with our one full-time mechanic. Any system that goes down, any problems that he has, he gets a call out on his phone, whether it's 8 at night or 2 in the morning. He pulls it up really quick on his phone, and he can be at the site within 10 minutes figuring out what's going on. This is why it's important. You have things that come up, unexpected things. This is a transformer that burnt up. So what do we do if something like that happens? This is a candlestick flare. So as an absolute emergency backup, we are still required to destruct any gas that we generate at our landfill and collect. So as an absolute backup, we have this candlestick flare. It's able to burn any gas that we produce at our site if our engines are down for any reason. So that was the first system. That was electric generation. But we've more recently been looking at what else can we do with this gas. What are there more beneficial uses for it? Are there things that are more economic and make more sense, have a better environmental impact? So we've been looking a lot more lately at compressed natural gas. So what is CNG? It's just like the natural gas, it's methane that you get delivered into your homes via the pipeline. It's taken and it's cleaned up a little bit, a little extra moisture pulled out of it, and it's compressed to 3,600 psi. The main reason for that is if you're going to use it as a vehicle fuel, natural gas, methane, is not a very energy-dense fuel, not as energy-dense as gasoline or diesel. So if you don't compress it, you need enormous storage tanks on your vehicle. So it's compressed to 3,600 psi. I'll refer a lot to bio-CNG. In the industry, that's basically CNG that's produced from methane that came from some type of biological process. Wastewater treatment plant, sewage treatment plant, a digester, a landfill, those types of sources. So this is actually our cleanup skid that takes a small stream of our landfill gas, pulls out extra moisture, pulls out hydrogen sulfide, pulls out siloxanes, and then pulls out CO2. So we end up with almost pure methane. A little bit of nitrogen, but otherwise pure methane. That goes into a compression skid, boosted up to 3,600 psi, and it can be used as fuel in modified vehicles. So why are we looking at CNG? There's a number of reasons, but these are the big ones. There's serious environmental impacts. I'll talk about those in the next slide. There's also the financials. You can produce the CNG for less than $2 a gallon. Right now, we're producing it for about $1.25, $1.30 a gallon. So there's extra equipment, extra cost to running that equipment. There's extra cost for the vehicles that run on this, but it's actually a pretty quick payback because of those savings. Also, although there's fluctuations in the price of natural gas, you know, if we're getting our gas from the landfill, we don't see those. We have a set rate for our CNG is going to cost us for the next 10, 20 years. We know exactly what our fuel prices are. A lot of fleets don't know what they're going to be in the next 6 or 8 months. Another nice thing about this that we really do take pride in is that it's a domestic fuel source. There's no national security concerns with producing your own fuel at your own site. And also that creates local jobs. These pictures here are the cleanup skid and the compressor at our site being built. The top picture is down in Dubuque, Iowa, and the other one was over in Milton, Wisconsin. So these are local jobs that are being used to produce this fuel. There's about 80 to 90% reduction in noise with the vehicles out on the street, and it's an extremely safe fuel source. Actually more safe than diesel or gasoline. Talked a little bit about the environmental benefits. You can see here 60 to 90% less smog producing pollutants and 30 to 40% fewer greenhouse gas emissions. Also a lower carbon intensity. That's a really big one here. If you look well to wheel, so from when the fuel source is extracted from the ground or produced until it's cleaned up, transported, gets into your vehicle, is burnt or used in your vehicle, and you have actual exhaust emissions out of your tailpipe. So well to wheel life cycle carbon intensity of fuels. You have gasoline up there at about 96, all the way down to CNG from your pipeline natural gas and CNG from the landfill at about an 80% reduction. So that's up on top there is the system I already showed you that's cleaning up the gas. Once the gas is cleaned up, it still needs to be compressed to go into a vehicle. When we first started this, we did it on a very small pilot scale system. We were the first in the nation to do it on such a small system. We won the EPA Landfill Methane Outreach Program Project of the Year for this. It's a very small 1970s trailer that had a compressor in it. It was donated to us from Alliant Energy and had some other partners. It broke down constantly, but it's hard to complain when things are free. So we made do with it, we proved the technology out, and ultimately upgraded and purchased a larger fueling station. So that's our new system out there now. Just to give you an idea, the pilot system could do about 5 gallons per hour from landfill. Our new one can do double that, and we also have about 5 times the storage, so we can keep those compressors running and fuel a lot more vehicles off of it. Here's an example of vehicles that can run on this. We have a Ford Fusion, we have several F-150s, 250s, 350s, we have Transit Connect vans, we have some larger dump body type plow trucks and dump trucks. Not enormous size, but like F-350, 1-ton size. And we will soon be taking delivery of the first commercial size plow truck running on CNG in the nation. So these are those huge plow trucks you see on the interstate with 2 plow wings, one on the side, one in the front. We'll actually be putting those into service this year. So those are kind of the 2 main things that we're looking at right now. We're also starting to consider actually going back to a system we evaluated several years ago of cleaning up our garbage gas and injecting it directly into the pipeline. A lot of times with fracking and the price of natural gas right now, a lot of times it doesn't make sense, but there are some incentives right now if you can wheel that gas to a CNG station, similar to how wind plants wheel their electricity to homes that want to pay extra for the green energy. So some of the other things you can do if you're taking landfill gas or digester gas, medium BTU gas, so it's actually very, very minimal cleanup of the gas, and it's direct use in a boiler or some other facility that can take that gas and use it even in its fairly dirty form. You can do the pipeline grade gas I talked about. You can look at digestion, which George and I have talked about a bit. Some other technologies, if you don't want to deal with the landfill, that people are starting to look more and more at, there's waste to energy, basically incineration of garbage with proper air emissions controls on the back end. There's a newer technology that a lot of people are starting to look at called plasma arc gasification. It's taking the waste processing through plasma, so it's essentially the temperature of the sun, and it gasifies the waste, breaks it down to its core, chemical properties, and you capture that syngas and process it into end products, and you end up with a very inert glass-like material. That's about 1 to 2% of the initial volume of the waste that went in. This is where people are starting to look. Some of these systems are being done on a pilot scale around the world. There's some constraints, and it can't be done everywhere. There's economies of scale and some other issues with it. But there's a lot of technologies that are coming up, and a lot of people are starting to look at how do we handle our waste? Can we get a beneficial reuse out of it? And more, if you look at solid waste industries and people that are talking about the future, they're starting to change their names from solid waste or garbage or recycling to resource management. Everyone's starting to look at what you put in the can as a resource and how can we reuse that rather than just burying it in a hill. And this is my work truck that I drive. It's running on landfill gas right there. That I'll open it up to any questions. Do we have time?
Yeah, we have time.
What do you get for gas mileage?
So you saw there it said GGE. I should explain that. That's gasoline gallon equivalent. So it's the energy value in CNG to equal 1 gallon of gasoline. So if it says a gallon of CNG, you get the exact same gas mileage, same energy value out of that as you would a gallon of gasoline. We've also tested one of our pickups in our Ford Fusion on dynometers. We put on the dyno. We tested it on a number of tests, 0 to 60, uphill towing packages, all that. And we did it on gasoline from landfill gas, or gasoline CNG from landfill gas, and CNG from the pipeline. And depending on the test, one was up to 10% better, and then the very next test, the other fuel type was better. But they were all very, very close. We saw no realistic change from the fuel types.
How far is that truck go on the fill?
So this truck was one of our first ones, so it's actually bi-fuel, so it can run on either gasoline or CNG. So we have a gasoline tank and a CNG tank on this vehicle. This one's got about 12 gallons of CNG storage, and then your normal 25-gallon gasoline tank. So, close to 40 gallons, about 600 miles on that truck between the two fuel types.
But a 12-gallon fuel tank is kind of what I'm seeing.
Yeah, it's a 12. If you see under that silver box is the CNG fuel tank. That size right there, you can see it takes up about a third of the truck bed. It's about a 12-gallon tank, so
When you
you get
retrofit,
about 180 miles on it.
when you retrofit a sedan, it's sort of it's pretty much always an add-on to the gasoline.
Almost all of them. There's a Honda Civic GX is a vehicle that is produced on the factory line as a CNG vehicle.
CNG.
Direct order from the vehicle. It's a Honda Civic GX. There's a number of other vehicles that now, Silverados, Tahoes, F-150s, Ford Fusion starting in 2014, where the vehicle manufacturers are working with a conversion company. So you actually order direct from them. It gets built normally on their line with some slight modifications. It goes immediately to another line in their facility, and the modifier puts it on, and they cover everything under their warranty still, but it's not actually Ford or GM installing that system in those cases. One more.
Are you producing enough CNG to be selling it to, or just for your own fuel?
Yeah, so we produce enough CNG, we could do about 225, 250 gallons a day, and that's less than 4% of our gas